Yay! Things are going well today. How's it going? Hopefully well. I got another PowerPoint for y'all. It'll be real fun, I promise. Mostly. I'm gonna talk for a while. Let me give it some time for people to. I know there was at least one person who said they wanted to join. So, give it some time. Hopefully everything will go all right. But yeah, how's it been? It's been good. I've been good. It's been a day since I've streamed, so that's fun. 2 streams this week to make up for the fact that I absolutely forgot last week. Well, once again, I have Chance with me. He's sitting on the bed. Felix is under the bed. Hopefully, we won't have a thunderstorm knock out the power and end the stream early. But I'm on thunderstorm watch right now, and we had a smaller storm knock out the power earlier. So, we'll see how fun this gets. It's been a minute and a half. Cool. Yeah. Go into the PowerPoint. Alright, we're going to talk about The Zoo, as it's called. It's a universe created by me and my friend Leo. They also helped me make this PowerPoint earlier today, because I needed the help. There's kind of a lot, and it mostly has to do with characters, because there's 24 characters. Alright, and then as a general disclaimer, most of the visuals used for this are either from Dress Up Games or The Sims, because I wasn't going to draw 24 characters, because my art skill's not that good, and there's 24 of these fuckers. But moving on, the world. It is a modern day setting. People have classes. Think like fantasy classes like D&D, rogue, warrior, things like that. I will talk about those in a moment. The world is kind of developed around the system, so you go and you do specialized schooling for whatever, skill tree, essentially. So, if you're, whatever your job is, you want to be, you'd go to school and you'd learn the skill sets of, a rogue, a warrior, and then you'd apply those to your job, if that makes sense, Magic is an innate ability, so you have to be born with magic. I'll go on and talk about that in just a little bit as well. Alright, and then there's families that pride themselves on having magic heritage. As magic is genetical, it's going to continue to go through families, so you have these big, giant, magical families that pride themselves on being magical. And of course, witches, wizards, familiars exist. Not necessarily other races like elves or dwarves, those don't really exist, but fantasy magic users, or there's some jobs that are more fantasy-esque, like you'd find swordsmen and things that you don't necessarily find in a modern setting, now in this fantasy modern. Alright, and then here are the classes. Leaders, so you go to, these are people who are going to specialize in charisma. You'd go to school and you'd learn the stuff to help with speeches and how to lead well. It's a lot of I imagine math as well, depending on how you're doing, you take certain classes like any other college or whatever. But for leaders specifically, you're specializing in charisma. I'm thinking this is politicians, this is CEOs, these are movie stars, things like that. Warriors specialize in strength, so you're gonna look at people who are probably taking like I said, there's just swordsmen and knights and all sorts of people who are going to specialize in having to have brute strength, but you also find certain classes of athletes in this category, and I imagine people who are starting to be construction workers and things like that, where instead of going to a trade school, you might go to a school that specializes in warriors craft and building up strengths. Same kind of concept for the rogues, but this is either stealth or dexterity. It depends on what you're going for, whether you're going to take the stealth tree or the dexterity tree. But I imagine they're lumped together quite often. And I feel like also informants are their own class because they're gonna focus on the information side of it, opposed to the stealth sides. But you'll find there are certain professions that are going to blend both the rogue, stealth, and information classes. So you'll probably find those two closely tied, while they're considered two separate things. A good example of blending would be like a private investigator or like specialized journalist or something, where you have to go undercover to get your story, or you want to follow people at like a discreet distance. And then mages are people born with the ability to use magic. And that's kind of misleading when I typed it out. Magic users are people with the ability to use magic. Mages are like the studied version of that. So like you get a degree to be a mage. Alright, and then while magic exists, it's only those with the genetics can use it. So it's like any other genetic, if you got brown hair, that's a genetic. And like, maybe like most of your family has it, but maybe you got like one or two people who have like a different color hair. It's kind of the same thing. It's like half your family has magic, half your family doesn't. But it's a genetically passed down trait. Uh, it must be a natural born ability. You cannot learn magic. So there's no like, oh, I've studied this tome, I can now do this spell. It's like, now you have to have the magic genetic to do magic. And then, of course, they're sent to school specifically for magic, and those are going to be different from the other ones, as they're going to have guards up, like magical like wards, so you can't like have chaotic spells like escaping and things. And while any mage can learn any type of magic, most mages will have one specific type they're best at and will tend to specialize in that because of that. And normally that's like a natural talent kind of thing. And then generally family members have similar types of magic. So like most families will be like, oh, our magical traits tend to be within this kind of realm of things. Like I think we'll see it later. There's one family that specializes in specifically elemental magic. So you'll see people who have like weather magic and fire magic and things like that. Alright, and then the story. So there's not like a full story. I think it was always meant to be kind of like a slice of life kind of thing. But the overall thing is there's a villa on an unclaimed island, which is owned by Giovanni Genitori, and he started this secret organization he calls the Zoo. That'll make sense when we get into it, but all the code names are animals. He finds young people from all over the world with different skill sets and gives them a mission to go out in order to better the world. And it's specifically young people because he's kind of trying to keep people on the right track, is more or less what it is. I think the oldest people on this are like 22. But like he wants to make sure, a lot of them will have like tragic backstories or like reasons why they're there. And so they're kind of recruited as someone, not only are they fantastical skills, but they're someone who is in need of the help, in need of kind of like a guidance or something, like a goal. And he started with his own children and the two children he was watching over, Griffin and Eliza, which we'll go over when we get to them. Alright, and then over the years, the zoo has reached up to 22 working members. There is 24 characters in all. 2 of these characters aren't technically working members of the zoo, and you'll see why when we get to them. Alright, and then on kind of the greater thing, there's many forces that work against each other. The zoo's goal is to keep civilians out of harm's way as much as possible, and so that's stopping, terrorists, criminals, politicians, even governments. And they're trying to do this as secret as possible because, like, it's kind of weird, and no one would understand, and you definitely don't want the other, like, things you're against to know that you even exist. So they're doing a secret. But I imagine it's like, so there's like, normal stuff that we've experienced in every day, where it's like, wars and things like that, but like a lot more espionage in this kind of world, because you got magic users, you're gonna want to be sneakier. But they're like, they specialize in getting rid of like the special ops, getting rid of like big threats, and they're able to know more about a lot of things beforehand because they specialize in information, or they have people that specialize in information. We'll get onto that, but the whole thing is gathering up to make sure they can kind of understand what they're up against and what's the next step, what's the next big thing that's going to happen that they need to protect people from. If that makes sense. I understand I'm stuttering over my words a lot. We've also, hold on, I should go back. I should point out, we've never written any of this stuff down. This is the first time this stuff has actually been put together and actually put into a document to be like, this is the full story. Most of this has just been me and Leo working in bits and pieces. We also started the story 6 years ago and rarely touch it. So there isn't a lot of like foundational stuff to it. Just like, again, bits and pieces. So if I feel like I'm struggling, it's because like the ideas are half formed. They really, really are. Anyway, this is Giovanni Genitori. These are our depictions of him. Like I said, I wasn't going to draw them. These are the ones you get. Alright, his code name is Bear. He is 43 years old. He is the founder of the zoo. He's the leader and coordinator. He has mysterious connections to everything. Like, I think the joke is one day he's talking to a high-ranking government official. The next day he's talking to the mob. Like, he has connections everywhere and no one knows how. He has a serious and fatherly nature. So, like, he is your stereotypical, like, business father man. I don't know how to exactly to speak words, really. But you know, in the suit and tie, and he has a briefcase, and you're just like, he's like, I will get this work done, you will do what you're supposed to, blah, blah, blah. But he's also very, like, a loving father, like, you are all my children. You know, shut up and do your jobs. He's married to Win, and then Sebastian and Felix are his twin sons. Win, Genitori, this is Mama Bear. She's 42. She's not technically part of the team, as she's not a working member. She is just Giovanni's wife, and she does, like, the cooking and the house cleaning. She does that all by choice. They're most definitely rich enough to afford a housekeeper. But Win is essentially retired, and this is what she's chosen to do. And she kind of enjoys being a homemaker, and she has a very motherly nature, so she's always trying to baby everyone. She's just like, no, sweetheart, sit down and eat your food. She grew up in Japan, and I imagine like her family were like delegates or something, or some kind of thing, and so she still has traces of that. You can tell in her design. We have her wearing a kimono. But yeah, and then she considers all the members her children. She's like, no, these are all my children. As soon as one of these young people are in the house, she's like, that's my child. Alright, Sebastian Genitori. His code name is Bass. He is 22 years old. He actually works as a getaway driver. One of two of them. He wants to be just like his father, Giovanni. So he's also, like, quiet and serious. You can tell there's an underlying scope of he also is fun, and he's just not open about it. Like, so someone in the group will say, like, let's go commit arson, and he'll be like, I have keys, let's go. But, like, in a very deadpan toned expression. And then he and Felix are twins. This is Felix. This chaotic being. His codename is Rainbow Trout. He chose that himself. He is age 22. He also works as a getaway driver. He is gay. He sometimes works as a drag queen at one of the local bars. He's a loud, fun, very brash nature. He's kind of the opposite of his brother is really what it is, where his brother is, like, quiet and shy and, like, will sit in the background. He's the one yelling, let's go commit arson. And then for the Genitories, it's Giovanni and Win met in university and then got married right out of college. They had the twins. Giovanni at the time was working for the British government. And then he's always kept his background secret, so no one knows how he got all the money that made him rich. But those will kind of come into play later. That's kind of the bulk of their backstory. But they own the villa. They're the founding family of all of this. And then next up is Griffin Holdingsworth. Griffith, he goes by Griffin as his codename, and is also what most people tend to call him if they're not calling him his nickname Griff. He's 21 years old. He's British. He is an elemental mage. He specifically tends to work with fire and explosives and things like that. That's kind of his specialty, even though he can work with all elements. Fire is his favorite. He's also terribly alcoholic. He's a goofy and amiable nature, so he's incredibly friendly, and literally everyone always gets along with him, and no one knows how he does it. Like, they'll be on a mission, and he'll somehow wander off and just come back, and he's like, "Hey, I made friends." He's Eliza's big brother. He's incredibly overprotective of his sister to the point where he has threatened to set people on fire. And then his best friends are Crow and Eric, who we'll get to later, of course. This is Eliza Hollingsworth. Her codename is Unicorn. She is 16 years old. She is a healing mage. She's also British like her brother. She's also scared of thunderstorms, and when they happen will tend to sleep like on the floor next to her brother's bed as kind of a comfort thing. She likes to help Win with the cooking. She has a kind, and she kind of also has a motherly nature, but she's still only 16. She has a crush on Alistair and Crow, and then her best friend is Cordelia. And the Hollingsworth, they have a lovely tragic backstory, but you can see I have in the corner there the Hollingsworth family crest. That's what it looks like. It's supposed to be silver and burgundy. I believe Griffin has a ring with it, and Eliza has a necklace with it. Alright, and then Lord Corvin Hollingsworth is the current head of the noble, rich, and prestigious Hollingsworth family. The family is revered for their magical capabilities, especially with elemental magic. So their family is specializing in elemental magics. He and his wife Ariana, who's a powerful earth mage, have 2 children, Griffin and Eliza. But rather than raise the children, they left them in the care of Corvin's old friend and former colleague Giovanni, because they would rather have a social life. So essentially one day the Hollingsworths just dumped their children in the genitories and left. The genitories are very much like, these are our children now. We love them and take care of them. That's one of the reasons since Griffin's an alcoholic, is because his parents abandoned him. But both parents expressed disappointment in the children despite rarely ever actually seeing them. But Griffin, they have high expectations for Griffin because he is the heir to the family. But even though he's incredibly powerful, he'll never match up to what his father is, who's probably one of the most powerful mages that exist at that moment. With Eliza, they're more disappointing in her because she's the first ever Hollingsworth not to have been born with elemental magic. Instead, she has healing magic. And of course, when this was found out, family members were like, "Oh, is she actually Corvin's child?" Yes, she is, but she wishes she wasn't. This is Rhys Daniels. He has baby face. It doesn't come off very well, but he's supposed to have a baby face. His codename is Huck. He is 19 years old. He is a sniper. Despite being young and talkative, he's one of the world's best snipers. He has a very affable nature. His best friend, crush, and rival is Meryl. And then he sometimes hangs out with Vaughn. Meryl and Rhys very much have a back and forth kind of banter relationship where they're best friends, but they bicker is really what it is. Vaughn kind of gets grouped with them because he does something that kind of is similar to their job descriptions, but he's kind of a prick. This is Meryl. Their codename is Meerkat. They're 18. They're a lookout. They're non-binary. Quiet and quick-witted nature. They have a friendly rivalry with Rhys. And they pretty much just put up with Vaughn. Like, he's there in the background, but no one cares. But yeah, they're a lookout, so what their job essentially is they sit, like, in a hidden spot when people go on missions, and they keep lookout to see if there's any, like, reinforcements coming, if anyone's, like, caught on to something, and they are able to then essentially phone back that information to the rest to know if they should, like, run or what's going on. This is Cordelia Wick. Her codename is Spider. She is 20 years old. She works as an assassin. She also helps Win with the household chores. I described her as a tsundere mostly because she is kind of like a whatever, I don't care, I don't want to be bothered by you people, but deep down she really, really does care for everyone. She adopts Norma. Her best friend is Eliza, and she has a crush on Griffin. Why? We don't know. Everyone's questioning that one. This is Norma Wick. Codenamed Kitten. She's 5, hence why she doesn't actually have a job. She was found in an alley by Cordelia, and Cordelia essentially found her, this, like, sad orphan child, and went, this is mine now. She, as any 5-year-old, well, has a very excitable nature. She, of course, was adopted by Cordelia, and she considers Eliza to be like an aunt to her. She's adorable. We love her. The 2 other depictions here where you see the cat ears and the mask are because those are supposed to be her later. She's like a teenager in those pictures, and she'll take after Cordelia and become an assassin. This is Vaughn, the prick himself. His codename is Falcon. He is 19. He works as kind of a scout, so he'll make sure, like, he'll go ahead of everyone and make sure there's no traps, no, like, people to be wary of, things like that. He's Australian. Sometimes people will jokingly call him Van, even though his name is Vaughn. That's mostly Reese calling him that. I describe him as smarmy here, but he's like a smug asshole. He likes to bother Reese and Meryl. He also likes to bother Ravine. He's just a general bother to everyone, but in a good way. Mostly he hangs out in, like, common areas and just makes stupid comments. Everyone's like, Vaughn, please shut up. This is Mary Tutor. Her codename is Kelpie. She's 18. She's a destruction mage, which means her magic is meant to completely crumble and break down things, generally items more than people. She enjoys people and trolling people online, so she's one of those people that gets on Twitter, says something purposely dumb or inflammatory, and then enjoys watching people argue in the comments. She's a mean girl. She's like an identical twin of Anne. This is Anne. They are in fact identical, and they play it up. Her codename is Harpy. She's age 18 as well, of course. She's a hex mage, meaning she specializes in putting curses on people, or hexes, things like, minor things like bad luck, or things like that, to things that are utterly life-destroying. She does that all with magic. She likes to convince people to send her free stuff. Is also a mean girl. Mary and Anne kind of exist to cause problems on purpose. And not in a good way. They're fun. This is Diana Virtra, I think is how I pronounce that. I did not pick out the name. I don't actually know how to pronounce it. But her codename is Dragon. She's 21. She's a stealth mage. Meaning essentially she's very good at a lot of the rogue qualities, but she does it with magic opposed to skill. Which, not to say it isn't skillful, but it isn't like, she didn't learn how to do it specifically. She didn't specifically learn how to do it. She has the magical capabilities and thus learned how to do it through magic. So, for D&D players, there's a Misty Step, or like similar spells where it's like you can cast it and it's like you now are kind of just unseen by things, and that's more, that's a magic thing. Yeah, she essentially can do that, but like all the time. She's friendly till provoked. She hangs out with Almond. Unrelated, almonds are also her favorite food. But yeah, she likes to play MMOs online, so she spends a lot of her free time, on a computer, in the arcade, just hanging out. But yeah, she's like super friendly, but like when you hear someone provoke her online, like they'll say something mean and she'll just fucking go off on them. This is Dahlia Fletcher. Her codename is Rottweiler. She's age 18. She works as a runner. That is to say, she essentially goes back and forth fetching like equipment and things like that for people. So, like, if they're in the middle of a fight and someone needs, like, something, or, like, they know they're going to need something coming up, she might run back to the car and get it, or maybe she knows where something is and she'll go and get it. She's a lesbian. She's very aggressive. Um, she's the younger sister of Cordelia and the adopted sister of Alistair. Um, the Fletchers, you'll see Cece in a moment here, but they don't have too much on them. They're another one of these characters that we just, like I said, with a lot of this, there's not foundational stuff. So you'll notice, like, I have talking points on the characters, but I don't have a lot of in-depth things for most of them, because there's 24 characters here, and most of them are, like, half-played-off jokes or ideas. And they still, like, stick and work. Like, there's plenty of things that I think we threw out, but this is Dahlia. She's lovely. She's aggressive. This is Cece, or Cecilia Fletcher. Her nickname, or her codename is Doberman. She's 20. She also works as a runner. Her nickname is Cece. She's also a lesbian. She is currently in a long distance relationship and has a complacent nature. And then is the older sister to Dolly and Alistair. So she where her sister is aggressive and, like, looking for a fight, she's more like, I'm gonna go with the flow. Things are happening. We're not starving anymore, so I'm good. Everything's fine. Calm down. This is Alistair Honest. For those of you who joined me yesterday, that name should sound familiar. Unless, of course, you're bred and didn't retain that information. Anyway, his codename is Beagle. He is age 16. He's a tracker, meaning he'll track mostly people down if need be. Like, their target will have fled and they'll have to, like, find him again. So he works to find the information trail so someone else can go do the actual, like, following and stuff like that. Because he's 16, they're not going to put him in danger. He has amnesia. He can't remember anything from before he was about 5 years old. He's which, you know, is a good thing. Which is a really good thing. But he's an extremely happy-go-lucky and just bright, nice boy. And he's the adopted brother of Cece and Dahlia. And they're kind of together called the dogs, because Doberman, Rottweiler, and Beagle. But Cece and Dahlia were orphaned at a young age and grew up on the street. They learned how to steal to fend for themselves. One day, they just find a 5-year-old boy asleep in their makeshift shelter. All he could remember that his name was Alistair Honest. And so they just added him to the little family. They're like, you know what? You don't have family, and we don't have family. We're now family. Fantastic. Which, you know, like, that's good. That's good. Alistair has a family. He deserves one, after all he's been through. Poor Willow. But she's out there causing problems, so don't worry about her. Anyway, this is Eric. Eric Viper. His codename is Cobra. He's a snake man. He's not actually a snake, but, I mean, not in the animal sense. He's a snake in another way. Anyway, that should not make me laugh as much as it did. Ugh. Anyway, he's 20 years old. He works as an information broker. That is to say, he gathers information and then brings it back. He kind of, I guess it's a similar job to Alistair, only Alistair specifically does it to track people's movements, where Eric does it for just general information for what they need. He's pansexual and he's a whore. He's actively always trying to sleep with things. That's just how he be. He was once a pirate captain. He has a quiet and smug nature. He hangs out with Griffin, Crow, and Ravine. He's a fun character. Like I said, he's a pirate, and he plays it up. He's no longer a pirate captain. He doesn't live on a boat anymore. He still wears the pirate outfit. This is Ravine Stillwater. We love her. She's fantastic. Her codename is Wolverine. She's 20 years old. She's a bodyguard. She just wants some peace and quiet. That's, like, really, really all she wants. And she is a grumpy badass. And she's sort of adopted Aaron and reluctantly hangs out with Eric and Vaughn. People like to bother her. Most of the people you'll find surrounding her, Eric, Vaughn, and the Aarons, are like obnoxious people. And she's just like, I just want to sit down and relax. What the fuck do you all want? Leave me alone. We love her. She could probably kick all their asses. I think the joke Leo and me made earlier today is Eric just hanging around to see how long till she hits him. It's surprising it hasn't happened yet. This is Crow Smith. His codename is Panther. He's 21. He works as a tracker, so he essentially picks up where Alistair leaves off. So Alistair will find, did I call them the same thing? That's on accident. That's fine. This PowerPoint took me way too long to put together. But he works similarly to Alistair. So Alistair will find the person's whereabouts through information around them. And then Crow will then pick up that trail and actively follow the person, like, to their destination, follow where they go. Kind of like a private investigator, only it's not really a private investigation as much as it is just stalking someone for information. He is actually a crow, but doesn't actually know that. We'll get back to that in a moment, but people have nicknamed him Birdcat because he's a panther and a crow. This is mostly Griffin calling him that. And again, I will remind you, Griffin is constantly drunk. He's a very laid-back nature, so he's kind of very much go with the flow, whatever. And he's best friends with Griffin and Eric. And then the Smiths. Crow's mother was the familiar to a very powerful witch. His father was just like a random crow. One day, the mage dubbed the Dick Wizard, we'll unpack that in a moment, killed his entire family, or killed the familiar to spite the witch. The witch, Blair, found the nestling and chose to raise him herself out of the love she had for her old friend. So yeah, essentially, like, Crow's mom was killed by the Dick Wizard, and Blair, having just had her best friend killed, was like, well, now I'm going to raise her son as my own. Being rather unimaginative, she just calls him Crow. She's like, well, I mean, your mother was a crow, so you're Crow, I guess. Despite her prickly nature, she managed to bring him up well enough. Minor trauma there. Nothing to worry about. She did her best. However, with the lack of any kind of training from other familiars, the boy never learned he was a crow, so he has no idea he can shapeshift into a crow, and that his father is actually a crow. To be fair, Blair also doesn't know his father's actually a crow. No one really knows that. So, yeah, he has powers he hasn't unlocked. Do I discuss the Dick Wizard, other than the fact that it's an NPC I like to use in games? That is a wizard that steals people's dicks. I think at one point he sewed the dicks onto himself to give him a Franken dick, but I don't know if that's canon. I think that was just for that game. But yes, he's a wizard that goes around stealing people's dicks. That is why he's the Dick Wizard. No, I will not explain any further because I don't know. Oh gosh, I also did not name this character. It's a rare form of a tree. I don't want to mispronounce it. Can this do that for me? I don't think this can. No, it can't. Alright. You see it on screen. I don't know how to pronounce it. Leo knows how to pronounce it, I think. But her codename is Phoenix. She's 21. She's an illusion mage. She likes to play video games. She does have a demon in the guise of familiar with her. She likes spicy food. Has made spicy food for the crew and not told them it's spicy. Which I believe we agreed resulted in Griffin breathing fire like dragon breath fire. Yeah, she's hot-tempered. Those are in quotes because that's not actual things Leo sent to me about this character. Anyway, and then they're friends with Diana, the dragon. Alright, Pinedas? I think? I don't know. Don't get me if I said that wrong. The Pinedas are a massive and and proud family of plant mages. Almond, however, has illusion magic. And because of that, she was ostracized by her family. Sick of the treatment by her blood relatives, she runs away to a rival family. At some point within this, we don't actually know when she does gain the demon familiar. It was sealed away and is so essentially. I don't have the information in front of me anymore, but I believe it was like the demon is been sealed away, and the only thing it can really do is form like a small little animal, and it just barely has the power to talk to humans, and do like minor magic, because it was sealed away by a powerful and obscene wizard. Har har. Eventually, just fed up with everything, she's recruited into the zoo. And then this is Gloria Henry. I will let you all know now. She was simply added because we wanted a character that was named Turtle. We'll maybe eventually get to why I chose Gloria for this, as Gloria is technically stolen from another character I have. But who knows if I'll ever get to talking about Glorious Revolution. Maybe one day. Alright, Gloria Henry, codenamed Turtle, age 17. They are a swordsman. They have a very fun sweater fixation. They like sweaters, especially soft sweaters. They're very calm. I think the way I was describing it is they're absolutely aware that they are constantly wielding a giant deadly weapon, and have decided that they must remain calm at all times because of that, as to never cause anyone harm. Yeah. They don't really have any close friends, but she is friendly with everyone and can be found in a lot of the common rooms. So she hangs out in like the common spaces like kitchens and dining rooms and whatnot, and just is around people, but there's no one she's particularly close with. This is Aaron Stillwater. His name is Moth. He's 12. He runs messages back and forth, normally within town, to get to people and find people and blah blah blah. They don't send the 12-year-old out on missions, I promise. He gets attention a lot because he's mischievous. He's the twin of Aaron and has been adopted by Ravine. This is Aaron Stillwater. Butterfly. They're 12. They're also a message runner. Ironically uses Ubu when texting. Is also mischievous, but slightly less than her brother. Twin to Aaron and adopted by Ravine. The twins, I believe, were also orphaned, and they're just like constant troublemakers. One day Ravine finds them and is like, "You guys are coming with me," and then that's how they got adopted. The villa itself. Okay, so they all live in a large villa. It has 12 rooms, 7 bathrooms, 2 kitchens, 4 living rooms, and a pool. It is within walking distance of the town. And then, even with plenty of room, living with 24 people is quite a lot. From time to time, members opt to stay elsewhere. So, like, there's probably, like, a hotel or something in town that every once in a while someone will go stay there, or, like, they have friends they stay with and things like that. Those that are friendly with their parents or family or whatever, like Crow probably stays with his mom from time to time. I imagine Eric likes to go on a pirate ship that he probably still has. Who knows? And then there is a very large dining room that could be a banquet hall, because from time to time they do have like full family meals, because it's fun and it's adorable, and I wanted to add that. The best joke of this, and then they were roommates. So yeah, with the amount of people that live in there, of course you can have roommates. First off being Giovanni and Wynn share a room. They probably share the master bedroom. They own the place. They're the married couple. The twins have to share a room, Felix and Sebastian. They don't care. It's the first time they've ever shared a room in their life. They grew up in this large villa. Griffin and Crow share a room, which is probably as disastrous as you all think they are. Because these two are... It's like that room, that thing. It's like each character has one brain cell between them, and suddenly they're in a room together and there's no brain cells. And this gets worse when Eric joins them, by the way. But these two share a room, and that's horrifying to everyone. Eliza, Cordelia, and Norma share a room, and they're just lovely people. Reese and Alistair share a room. I imagine they get along a lot. I imagine both of them never sleep as they're constantly talking to each other. Mariel is thankfully by themselves. They're like, oh, thank God, peace and quiet. I don't have to share the room with anyone. I also imagine they have like a room at like the top of the villa. They have like the bird's nest or whatever for like the thing. Not like a bird's nest in a ship, I should add. It's like, never mind, I'm not going to explain myself. Vaughn, Eric, and Aaron Moth share a room. Mary and Anne share a room. Ravine, Diana, and Aaron Butterfly share a room. Cece and Dahlia share a room, and Gloria and Ullman share a room. None of those are too terrible. I mean, we are letting Mary and Anne be around each other, which is probably extra chaotic than just one of them being around. But they're also identical twins, and you can't separate them. So that's how that be. This is the chart I originally made for this, and I don't know how to explain to you that this makes sense to me, but every time I open up my the thing to look at it, it gives me a headache. But it does kind of tell me, like, it helps me number them, so I have numbers so I can shorthand some things, but it tells me their age, their code name, what class they are, or what their job is, first name, last name, any nicknames they may have. This is also, I should add, a little bit out of date. Has gender, who owns which character, who created which character, who they room with, who their family members are, who they have a crush on, who at the end of the story they're supposed to end up with. I'm not going to really touch on that because I think that's out of date. The in order of column here, that's like the worst column on here. It's not the worst column on here. It's pretty bad. This column, in order of, just shows who was first to arrive and who was last. I don't know if I could go over that all, but like clearly like Sebastian, Felix, Eliza, and Griffin are like the first people, and I think the last person is Norma. But it doesn't really matter. They all at different times came to the zoo or got recruited or whatever. And then to end off this god awful thing that I created that I do not know how to properly convey, because like I said, this is the first time we've ever like sat down and been like, okay, here's all the information at once, you know, here's it all in something that makes a little bit more sense. Here's some things to give your brain a break that are kind of funny. I'm gonna read off the Valentine's Day thing first. Just hold on. I typed this out frantically, I think, that day. I'm sorry, but Valentine's Day with the zoo, Felix would go all out in decoration. Like the whole fucking house is covered in pink hearts and red streamers and glitter. But he probably wouldn't even be home because be home on Valentine's Day because he's a gay asshole. And you know he wouldn't. Never. And then the other column here is an actual column I wrote one day out of boredom. But would you fuck Eric? Which Giovanni says no, Wynn says no, Felix has, most definitely. Sebastian absolutely would never. Griffin has, but he says there's a good reason. I don't remember what that reason was. But Griffin's also drunk all the time, so it doesn't matter. Reese has never thought about it. Probably good. Muriel says, hell no. Cordelia asks, why would anyone? My throat hurts. Give me 1 second. Eliza, for some reason, would. I don't know why. Norma is 5. Vaughn says that would make rooming very awkward. He says that, but I have a sneaking suspicion he would do it. Mary says that they would. Anne says they would not. Diana said, I'd prefer if he was on fire. Which is valid. Dahlia is a lesbian. Cecilia says maybe if he was a girl. Alistair says that's an option. Of course, Eric asked about masturbation. Ravine says the bitch probably has an STD. That's mean. Also, we don't know. Crow says he's not gay. That's his answer. Very non-committal. Ullman says probably would not. Gloria is currently, apparently. And then the Aarons are 12. Here's some more stuff. I think this is all just like little things between me and Leo going back and forth with them. I'm sorry it's a mess. I couldn't make it look nicer. But a small list of facts about some of the zoo characters. Crow likes Hallmark Hallmark movies. Eliza is scared of thunder, and during storms sleeps on the floor next to her brother's bed. Alistair will eventually meet this shrimp lord and travel dimensions like his sister. Like I said, I am unsure if he's ever going to meet his sister again. But he does gain shrimp lord powers. Griffin is also called Goose after the untitled Goose Game Goose. Valid, actually. It's the same energy. Mary and Anne like to play online games to mess with people, which shocks no one. Is there anything else in there? Oh, Eric is pansexual and a hoe. Like any good pirate, his true love is the sea. He succeeds where Crow fails, fighting with all the girls who surround Griff. Oh yeah, because of Griffin's friendly nature. For some reason, there's a lot of girls who really, really like him. So, like, he'll walk into town and there's always kind of a group of girls trying to flirt with him. I don't know why that's a thing. Griffin doesn't know why that's a thing. He's just happy to have friends. Oh, I cut it off on the top. Okay, but that top one I think is to say, hey, what if Griffin is actually secretly good at cooking while drunk? To which Leo adds, what if he's like super good at baking while drunk or something? I love it. He can always cook, but can only bake when he's drunk. So pretty much he can always bake. And Cordelia's just like, how the actual fuck? Eliza just shrugs. Magic, I guess. Which is valid. Oh. This is just the bottom of this one for some reason. Okay, but Falcon has an Australian accent. I guess that's important. It is important. He's Australian. I probably didn't need to put this one in then. Also, Griffin and Eliza have British accents. Griffin is super overprotective of Eliza. Eric once said that she was pretty, not really meaning anything by it. But Griffin tried to light him on fire. He still sees her as a baby. She's more mature than him and sees him as a baby. Aw, siblings. Poor Crow probably almost got incinerated. Oh yeah, so Crow and Eliza are going to end up together in, like, the very far future. Oh yeah, and that's everything. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this. The story did not go on as long as I thought it would, actually. I'm surprised by how quickly I was able to go through this. But, like I said, like, this is the first time we've ever really sat down and, like, been like, oh, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. I could have been doing that the whole time. Are you fucking kidding me? Put the swear word in. Fuck. Won't do it. It won't do it. That's not what I meant to press. I meant to press this to go back up. But yeah. I hope you enjoyed listening to this absolutely weird story. I think maybe one of these days we'll have to, like, sit down and actually physically figure out what the story is. But I think it's supposed to be like a slice of life. Like, sometimes they're sent off on these kind of, like, nondescript missions or whatever. And then they come back and they have the banter about things. And it's more focused on the characters than it is the actual action pieces. But yeah, we enjoyed making the series. Like I said, we started this 6 years ago. And we very rarely come back to these characters and we're like, these are weird characters. I would like to fixate on these a little bit. But yeah, we'd been constantly using this document to refer to them. And clearly we needed something better than this. So that's what this PowerPoint is. I'll probably be continuing to do this with more stories here and there. Mostly because, like, this is kind of fun for me. I enjoy making the presentations. I enjoy talking about all the things. Yeah, I don't know which story is next. But hopefully next week I'll go back to reading the book, since we're on chapter 5 of that. Other than that, you know, if you have any questions about this or suggestions for this story, feel free to leave comments on the video or VOD or whatever. I mean, this will go up on YouTube for certain. Or, like, since most of my viewers are just my friends, or all my viewers are my friends, and we're all pretty much in Worm Jam, just ask me questions about it. suggests things to me. And Leo. Leo also made this story. So don't blame all the weird shit on me. Blame most of the weird shit on me. I was allowed to add the dick wizard in. That one's on me. But some of the stuff Leo came up with. Yeah. This is not what I was trying to do. Where's the... There it is. So yeah, I hope you all had a lovely time listening to this absolutely batshit insane story that we've created. Hopefully next time we convene, it is to do with a book, or either a book or a story that I have more things, just more things about that I can constantly go, hey, here's the story with all the plot points. Honestly, I probably should do one of my more thought out stories next, so it's not just these jumbled ideas and stuff. Granted, this is much better than the Willow stream that I did yesterday. Much more coherent. Thank you for letting me talk at you for almost an hour. I appreciate it. Have a good night, my dears.